Good morning. Today, I'll be discussing to you about the third phase of project life cycle, which is the project execution. What is project execution? Execution involves building the deliverables and controlling the project scope and cost. Risk must also be managed during this phase. Control mechanisms should be in place to control issues and problems as well as to ensure quality. Once the project initiation and planning is complete, the execution phase begins. Ideally, the project plan has been approved and baseline so that the actual work can start. This phase includes the coordination of resources to perform the activities outlined in the plan. The project manager must unify all associated areas of the project and engage all the stakeholders, project staff, customers, and other resources to achieve a successful outcome. Report gathering is performed regularly during this phase to analyze ongoing status, task changes, and other variances to the plan. Administratively, the project manager must complete or coordinate all status reports to keep the organization abreast of project standing. The majority of the project tasks are performed during this phase. In this unit, you will learn the core of project management through the review of the organizational techniques required to make sure deliverables are completed on time and on budget. Upon successful completion of this unit, you will be able to first, identify the fundamentals of cost management, second, describe project management tools used for project execution and reporting, and discuss situation in which these tools are used. Third is explain effective change control procedures. Fourth, define quality assurance, and lastly is define risk management. What is the project execution plan? The project execution plan is a document that describes the objectives you want to achieve in a company with the time and resources needed such as cost, quality, benefits, and etc. The WBS is a document that controls, executes, and monitors the project. WBS or Work Breakdown Structures is a term that is used in project management. A WBS has a hierarchical structure in which concrete main activities are divided into logical sub-activities. The importance of a decision-making process of the company will make it easier to achieve the fulfillment of objectives to achieve the success of the project you have. In order to achieve the goals that the organization has, it is necessary that the project execution plan is in phases, in which each phase is connected to the next in order to achieve the results that are needed. Those involved in the project are the basis for the completion of the structure, so it is necessary to include the following people for a good WBS project execution plan. And these are the following. First is the project manager, second, customer, third, organization executing the plan, fourth, project team members, fifth, project management team, sixth, sponsors, and lastly is influential. Points that a WBS should include. First is scope of work, second, project objectives, third, recruitment strategy, fourth, communication plan, fifth, technology and information, sixth, rules and allocation of responsibilities, seven, human resources, eight, project control, nine, budget, 10, timeline, and lastly is the quality management. Define WBS objectives and company goals. Decision on the size and timing of the project. It is very important that a company is decisive regarding the duration of the project they want to carry out. Choosing the type of employees needed for the achievement of the goals, the budget during the process, and the materials and technology needed for the achievement of the project. Step by step, you will make the stipulated time necessary for the fulfillment of deliveries. Identify the objectives and goals to be achieved. What do you want to achieve with the project, such as reducing cost, entering new markets, creating a new product or service, and making it successful, changing or renewing the structure of some work process, implementing new raw materials and making employees feel at ease, and etc. And the business goals such as achieving more economic income, optimizing process in the organization, fulfilling the stimulation to employees to be happier in the working environment. Agreement of the goals with the stakeholders. Bring together the people who need to be involved in the project, whether they are employees or suppliers. Meetings for consensus on responsibilities or decision-making are vital for achieving the objectives. Next is the implementation of method for monitoring project execution. Establish success indicators with which you can measure, observe, and control the project process. Economic value can be essential for project execution. Metrics such as money saved, benefits being earned, and team performance. Steps required for project fulfillment. First is building a good team. Second, determine the tasks that are necessary to achieve the project objectives. Identify possible risks that may arise. Fourth is organize the documents that are necessary for the execution of the plan, such as risk plan document, test, and software. Lastly is the backup system or plan B for the phases of the project process. Brainstorming with the team. Most of the time, people have many ideas, but they don't know how to put them in order or how to make our way of thinking and methodology known to the people you are working with. This is why brainstorming for the project execution plan can be outcome of what you want to do, how to do it, and what you want to achieve. This is why when you have already selected your team, the brainstorming can be the icebreaker to structure the execution of the project plan. Each person can express their ideas and comments to enrich the field of work they are in. When the brainstorming, the formation of the plan can be more creative and each member is given the opportunity to share ideas, comments, or opinions regarding the project they will be working on. Second is the work plan and budget. It is valuable to know the hierarchical order for the information that is collected in the execution of the project plan. It is necessary to have a budget of the expenses that can be presented in each phase of the project and also a forecast of the future expenses already finished the project. Other external participants or stakeholders in the project. Since we are focused on the execution of the project plan, it is necessary to visualize the environment in which the company is or wants to be involved, either an internal environment with the same employees or the external environment with customers, investors, or other interested parties in the project being structured. When identifying this environment of possible allies, you must have the time to find out what they want to obtain from the project and why they are interested, so you can work in a more appropriate and specific way with the interested parties. Components for good project implementation plan. To coordinate and direct, the director must be aware of what is happening in the work team in order to achieve the agreed objectives. The director can organize the meetings and make them productive spaces for the project. The next subtopic of project execution is the project monitoring and control. Documentation and order is necessary for the good monitoring of the project execution plan, which is based on responsibilities, time, cost, communication, reports, and etc. This control can be based on the meetings that are formed to look at the progress that has been made with the objectives, or in the documentation that is shared with the team, where everyone can put the responsibilities and what has been achieved in the temporality that is needed. The following are the ways on how the project monitored and controlled during the project execution. First is the good management of communications. The good handling of communications with the work team will make the execution of the project much more productive. Communications can be organized in a personal face-to-face way or in a systematic and fast way, as it is the virtual meetings and the handling of information by the internal channels of the company. Next is the human resources. Be aware of the staff that makes up your team is important, because it is necessary that employees receive training on a particular topic that is necessary for their productivity, without neglecting the leadership and motivational factor to align the group to develop the activities assigned. Next is the quality. The project manager must analyze from the beginning to the end the quality of the final product that will be delivered to the clients with the standards and expectations that the organization manages. Lastly is the stakeholder. How do the interested parties enter and what do they contribute to the project they are working on? This is important to know what role they play in the project as external people who want but must be aligned with the objectives that the company wants to achieve. Keep in mind, first is how the stakeholders will be identified. Second, what type of communication will be held with interested parties. Third, level of support they will provide to the project. Fourth, do they need us or do we need them on the project? Fifth, identify the objectives and what the stakeholders want to achieve with them. And lastly is the distribution of project benefits.
So the next topic will be about project quality. Managing project quality. Project managers have two different interests in quality. Some projects are performed to provide a significant improvement in the quality of an existing process, and the project activities themselves must reflect high quality standards. A basic knowledge of statistics and procedures used in quality control will help the project manager understand the objective of STEP projects and perform projects in companies that are committed to high quality standards. So, definitions of quality and grade. Quality is the degree to which a product or service fulfills requirements on and provides value for its price. The requirements of product or process can be categorized or given a grade. The quality is determined by how well something meets the requirements of its grade. As we all know, statistics is the mathematical interpretation of numerical data, and several statistical terms are used in quality control. One of them is control limits, or are boundaries of acceptable variation. Additionally, about statistics terminology, if random factors cause variation, they will tend to cancel each other out. This is called the central limit theorem. Another one is the central point in the distribution is the mean, which is represented by the Greek letter mu. If you choose intervals called bins and count the number of samples that fall into each interval, the result is a frequency distribution. If you chart the distribution and the factors that cause variation are random, the frequency distribution is a normal distribution, which looks like a bell shape. Consequently, as stated in the previous slides, the center of the normal distribution is called the mean, and the average variation is calculated in a special way that finds the average of the squares of the differences between samples and the mean and then takes the square root. This average difference is called the standard deviation, which is represented by the Greek letter sigma. And about 68% of the samples are within one standard deviation, and 95.4% are within two standard deviation, and in three standard deviation there are 99.7% of the samples. To better understand the meaning of sigma levels, here is the sample of or the summary of the sigma levels. So for a sigma level 1, as stated, there is a percentage inside control limits of 68.3% and percentage outside control limits is 31.7%, which has an approximation of 32 per 100. And secondly, for the sigma level with 2 sigma level, the percentage inside control limits is 95.4% and the percentage outside of that is 4.6%, which indicates or has an approximation of 5 per 100. And the 3 sigma level is about 99.7%, and the outside percentage of that control limits is 0.3%, which indicates that or has an approximation of 3 per 1000, and so on and so forth. So next is about the development of quality as a competitive advantage, and here's a brief history about it. The need for production of safe, reliable weapons that could be mass produced led to use of methods to assure that parts were manufactured within controlled limits. An early example is the interchangeable musket parts produced in France in 1790, and later the quality control methods introduced by Stuart in the United States during the World War II. Following World War II, Japanese companies allowed or followed advice from Deming and others to make quality a top priority for management. Higher quality products gave Japan a competitive advantage with US consumers that forced US firms to respond with similar quality programs. So next is the quality management in Japan and in America. So in Japan, there is a so-called Deming Award which is given by Japan to companies doing business in Japan for high quality standards. Similarly, the Balbridge National Quality Award is given to US companies and individuals for their contribution to quality. The criteria used to determine award winners are as follows. First is leadership of senior executives, then the strategic planning and customer and market focus as well, and then measurement, analysis and knowledge management, and the fifth one is the workforce focus, and then the Next is process management, and the last one is the results. So these are the criterias in determining the award winners for the Balbridge National Quality Award. Consequently, as stated in the previous slides, the center of the normal distribution is called the mean, and the average variation is calculated in a special way that finds the average of the squares of the differences between samples and the mean, and then takes the square root. This average difference is called the standard deviation, which is represented by the Greek letter sigma. And about 68% of the samples are within one standard deviation, and 95.4% are within two standard deviation, and in 3 standard deviation there are 99.7% of the samples. To better understand the meaning of sigma levels, here is the sample of, or the summary of the sigma levels. So for a sigma level 1, as stated, there is a percentage inside control limits of 68.3%, and percentage outside control limits is 31.7%, which has an approximation of 32 per 100. And secondly, for the sigma level with 2 sigma level, the percentage inside control limits is 95.4%, and the percentage outside of that is 4.6%, which indicates or has an approximation of 5 per 100. And the 3 sigma level is about 99.7%, and the outside percentage of that control limits is 0.3%, which indicates that or has an approximation of 3 per 1000, and so on and so forth. So another approach to quality management in the United States was formulated at Motorola in 1986 and was named Six Sigma. The Six Sigma practices were based on Deming's work, TQM, and others, and had similarities regarding continuous efforts to improve involving everyone at the company. Emphasizes a clear focus on achieving quantifiable financial returns from any Six Sigma projects. To determine the financial return on a quality initiative, the cost of quality must be determined. The cost of quality has two parts: the cost of prevention and the cost of failure. So here is the cost of quality, and its two categories: the cost of prevention, which is includes costs to establish quality practices, and the cost to verify these quality practices. And then for the cost of failure includes both internal costs and external costs. Internal costs, it is when before the product is sold, such as waste and fixing the products before it reached the market. While external costs include those that occur after the product is sold, such as returns and lawsuits. Another aspect of the quality management is the ISO 9000 group. The International Standard Institute devises guidelines for establishing practices, and the ISO 9000 group are guidelines for establishing practices that are likely to create quality products. So the ISO 9000 is about fundamentals of vocabulary for this group of quality standards, and then the ISO 9001 is about standards for evaluating the quality management processes in an organization, which has 5 parts. The first is the overall requirements for the quality management system and documentation. The second one is the management responsibility, focus, policy and planning and objectives. The third one is resource management and allocation. And then the fourth one is the product realization and process management. And the last one is the measurement, monitoring and analysis improvement. And the ISO 9004, which is about ways to extend benefits of ISO 9001 to employees, owners, suppliers, partners, and society in general. It is a guide for top management for overall quality improvement. Consequently, ISO 9011 is also present for guidance for auditing a quality system. So next is the relevance of quality programs to quality project or project quality. Both project and process quality management require commitment from all employees, including top management. They are both client-oriented and prevention-oriented. Projects are temporary and allow fewer opportunities to improve repetitive processes. Cost of prevention is often part of the project budget, but the cost of failure usually happens after the project is completed. So this allows separation of costs and benefits, which can lead to taking short-term savings on the project at the expense of higher cost of failure after the project is completed. So the next topic is about planning and controlling project quality. So the statistical control terms that are commonly used in planning and controlling project quality are as follows. The first one is tolerance, which is about the range between control limits. And then flow chart, it is a diagram showing decision branches and loops. And then benchmarking, which is about comparison to best practices. Then the next one is fishbone diagram. It shows possible causes of quality problems. And then check sheet. It is a form used to record frequency of problem occurrence. Then the next one is histogram. Column chart that shows frequency of problems, and then the Pareto chart, which is a histogram sorted by frequency from the highest to smallest with a line that shows total cumulative problems. The quality planning process uses initial scope, budget, and schedules estimate to identify areas that need quality management. Control of quality in repetitive processes use statistical control methods that involve designing, testing while considering the cost of quality, taking measurements, and then analyzing the data using run charts that show control limits and trends. Methodologies are compared to the best practices by competitor, which is called benchmarking, and then errors are documented using check sheets and analyzed using fishbone diagrams, histograms, and Pareto charts. So these are the functionalities of the aforementioned statistical terms or diagrams in part of the quality planning process. The products of planning and controlling quality are a quality management plan, data, analysis documents, and proposals for improvement. So next is assuring quality. So the process analysis in assuring quality is about the flowcharts of quality process are compared to the processes followed during actual operations. If the plan was not followed, the process is analyzed and the corrective action is taken. The corrective action could be to educate the people involved on how to follow the quality plan or to revise the plan itself. And then another process of assuring quality is through quality audit. For additional confidence and assurance, an outside group can come in and review the quality procedures and accuracy of the data. This process is similar to a financial audit and is called a quality audit. The purpose of quality audit is to compare the stated quality goals of the project against the actual practice and procedures that are used to be able to generate or assure whether the quality goals are met by the actual or the execution part of the quality management. It is not a certification of the quality of the products themselves.